I just want to appreciate everyone that reached out to me yesterday on my birthday. God bless you all.
But
Thank you.
It's good to be good. I also need to say this on behalf of Milan 98.3 FM. The outpour of love to Fuad side yesterday was amazing on all our social media platforms. It was just out of this world. Thank you to everyone.
Unbelievable.
Yes, exactly. Thank you to everyone.
The little things we do here, Sandra.
Yeah.
Just the little things we do here.
Look at that. So thank you to everyone who celebrated Side Fuad yesterday. We will always celebrate with each other going forward. Well, unfortunately, as we move on, I'm so sorry I have to bring this as a follow-up to your, the celebratory spirit that you have, Fuad. Apologies in advance.
Right.
But the Olubadan unfortunately passed yesterday evening at UCH. Very unfortunate one. And
at the age of 81.
Yes, at the age of 81. Olalekan, His Royal Highness Olalekan Balogun. Yes. And Fuad, you remember all the intrigues that led up to him to ascend
becoming the
Olubadan, and just 2 years after. And very unfortunate. Apparently, he was ill or something, and this is. By 4 p.m. today, the story we're getting is that he will be buried. Yeah.
When it comes to the stool of the Olubadan, if you check in history, you always have old men, becoming the Olubadan because of the arrangement to ascending the throne. It's one without crisis risk. As it is, the next in line is almost as sure, and people are already looking at the Otun Olubadan, that is former Governor Rashid Ladoja, as most likely the next in throne, becoming the Olubadan, because there's always this succession arrangement for the Olubadan.
Yeah.
So because you have to wait that long, you have to start from one position to another position, and then before you become the Olubadan. So it's not that they just choose anybody. There's that lining, there's that arrangement, there's that hierarchy. So most times you find that most of the Olubadan are always most likely old people, and so they don't really stay too long on the throne. This is just 2 years.
2 years.
You understand? Well, yes, 2 years that they ascended the throne, and may God rest the soul of His Royal Highness of our late Balogun. And of course, we're hoping that, of course, the succession will also be smooth without any rancor. So that, of course, yes, that's our hope.
Yes.
I
really hope so. There will not be any.
Political implications.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's where I was going, because of the political, intrigues and sensationalism that went with the last one. I really hope that this one won't have 11. I think last time it was 11 houses or so that came together and said, "Oh, is it our turn? Is it your turn?" And the kingmakers,
No, it used to be rancor free, but our politicians will put their hands into these things and then try to make a mess of it. Like I said, now that it's most likely going to be former Governor Rashid Ladoja ascending the throne. We'll see whether our politicians will start their intrigues again. It's already, again, mostly for the governor. And people have said that, look, in this time of Governor Jᴏɪᴅ Aᴊɪიბᴏ, we have a long list of obas and kings in Oyo State who have ascended to the great beyond. In Yoruba land, we don't like to say Oba. We say Oba Waja. We don't like to say Oba died. So from Ogbomoso down to Iseyin, even the Alaafin Oyo, a lot of first-class Obas in Oyo State have gone to the great beyond, and there's now a need to begin to replace some of them that are also having some political coloration. But again, we hope that this Olubadan too, the next Olubadan would come without any form of political rancor or any issues. That's what we hope for.
Thank you very much, Said Fuad. Well, let's get into the other stories trending on the front pages of our dailies. I'll start with the Punch newspaper. This is Mainland 98.3 FM. That's the voice of Said Fuad. We'll be giving analysis to our stories. My name is Omobola Sandra, and don't forget, we're live on Facebook and YouTube. So do well to join the conversation on those platforms. I'll start with the Punch. The major headline: school attacks. Bandits demand 1 billion naira for 287 pupils, and they have issued March 27 as deadline. There are riders to that. Kidnappers called on Tuesday, and they give us 20 days to raise ransom, says community leader. Hostages held in difficult location, and they are used as human shield to prevent bombardment, and that's coming from Defense Headquarters. The story is on page 2. So, Fuad, the gunmen who kidnapped 287 students and teachers from LEA Primary School and the government secondary school Kuriga, Kaduna, last week have demanded 1 billion naira for their release. I don't know where these men or guys or where these people get, the effrontery or the audacity or the brazenness, for that amount of money. But I mean, just last week or just earlier this week, the conversation was 40 trillion naira. Here we are now. We are discussing another 1 billion naira.
Well, it's unfortunate, Sandra. Really, really unfortunate. And time is ticking, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, there are 20 days to provide this.
Yeah, even before the 27th of March deadline that they are giving. The reality is that a lot of these kids, some of them as young as 5, 6, 7, 8 years, are in extremely difficult situation as we speak, conditions. Because again, what the community leader is saying, if you should go through that story or some other report, is that look, these are kids who are to trek kilometers, kilometers to get to where they are now. Some of them have to trek as long as 20, 30 kilometers. And we're talking about kids here.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're not going to be getting the best of treatment in terms of food. I'm sure some of them would have fallen ill because of the trauma and the shock of being pushed around, by gun-wielding criminals. No child wants to be found in that situation. Not even an adult. Even an adult will fall sick immediately. Being pushed around the bush or, through dusty pathways and all of that. And then you see them. For them to also be made to submit the authorities, they are going to have to intimidate them, sometimes harass them. They most likely even beat some of them. If you understand. It's unfortunate that we are painting this kind of gory picture on radio. But it is what it is, and we just have to do our job. And time is ticking. Now it's about 1 billion naira, because what was said is that, look, the bandits now, or let us just call them what they are, terrorists now, use the phone of the principal to make the call, to the community leader who is giving this report. And they are demanding for 1 billion. And what they said is that, look, by the 27th of March, if that ransom is not paid, they may start to actually kill these children and the hostages. Yesterday, Sage sent a link to me. It was a CNN report confirming this particular story. That, look, there was already a threat to start killing these hostages. Should the government refuse to meet up with this particular demand of 1 billion naira. Unfortunately, the community is saying that, look, they are too poor to even raise anything close to 1 billion naira. Because again, the parents of these children, the families of these hostages are desperate to get their loved ones back, if you understand what I mean. Now we're in this situation. The president has said no, he's not going to pay anything. The kidnappers and the bandits are demanding 1 billion. We have a stalemate here. And we need to ask ourselves, what will now be our priority on this particular issue? Would our priority be making a statement that will never negotiate or pay ransom to bandits? Or our priority will be doing whatever we can to secure the release of these hostages, mostly children and women, in this very tough situation? It's unfortunate, Sandra, how we got to this level. And I really don't know what else to say other than to hope that the government will do what it needs to do to secure the release of this hostage. It's a very sad situation, extremely sad situation.
Very. I really don't know what way to go about it, and what could be going through the minds of the parents of these children at this time. Well, as it is now, reports is that a community leader, JᴏɪＲ Aᴊɪიბᴏ, who is acting as a spokesman for the families of the hostages, said he received a call on his phone from the kidnappers on Tuesday. And I'm just going to go back to this whole linkage of, numbers and all of I'm sorry, because, you got a phone call. There's a number to reach. There's a number that he can actually,
So they said, what you said that they are using the phone of the principal. They also kidnap teachers,
yes,
and some staff of the school. So what we're getting is that look, the phone that was used to make the call was from is the phone of the principal, one of the hostages. So, and even the military knows the exact location. So it's not really about not knowing where these hostages are kept or where the bandits are.
So what could be holding them back? What could?
No, what they are saying is that they separated them, which is the usual thing. The same thing they did with Chibok girls and other situations like this. So what they do is to separate them into different locations and then use them as human shields. So rescuing is not as easy as you think, really, because so that's why it's always good not to allow these kind of things to happen. If you understand what I'm saying, especially when you have a hostage situation with this large number of persons, it's extremely difficult, Sandra, because to use them as human shield is difficult to. You can't even bomb them. You can't. If you swoop in too much on them, you lose the hostages, and we don't want that
damage.
So
exactly.
It's going to be too massive, So that's why it's better you don't even allow it to happen.
Well,
when it happens, it becomes more difficult.
Well, the report we're getting now is the councillor representing Kuriga Ward, Ibrahim, said, of course, the community cannot afford $1 billion ransom. And they're struggling as it is. For I remember, the Ekiti situation where the people were taking, and out of millions that was demanded, I think they were able to come up with 350,000 or 450,000.
They even tried. It's not a very poor community. I'm sure maybe people out in Lagos, in other places, would have supported them with some
from afar. Well, what we have now is that the community said, or the community leader now is saying, and I'm quoting, we only make appeal to the Kaduna state government, and they've not promised us whether they are going to pay the ransom or not. The terrorists have not yet called since they made the demand for $1 billion naira ransom. And what we have now is the Minister of Information, Mohammed Idris, told reporters on Wednesday that President Bola Tinubu's position on the kidnappings in Kuriga was that security forces should ensure or secure the hostages' release without any payment to the kidnappers. All right?
Well, that's the job of the security forces. If they're able to do that, that would be a fantastic one. If they're able to secure the release of these hostages without paying a dime, that would be a welcome development, a fantastic one. At least to send the messages to these criminals that look, we have the capacity to, secure release of anybody that is held hostage without paying you a dime. But the question is, do we have the capacity? Can we do it? Is it doable? Is it achievable without any collateral damage? Because when you are in this kind of situation, Sandra, you don't go from testing and grandstanding. We have people's lives on the line here. Mostly children and women. Innocent children on the line here. So we are not saying that the government should be cornered into a desperate position to begin to pay ransom to criminals. But as we are now, what then do we do? What's then the option now? The most realistic option to secure the release of this hostage. It has happened, it has happened. It would have been better it never happened. But now that it has happened, where do we go from here? Because time is ticking, Sandra.
Time is ticking. There's a lot of, I really don't know now. And Kaduna is just one state. I mean, you still have the situation in Sokoto.
The Borno situation is there.
Borno State
is there too. Borno State is there too. But, again, the issue of Kaduna is getting all of the attention because these are kids, young children, pupils. So that's why everybody seems to be paying attention more. So, but the IDP situation in Borno State is still there. The one of Sokoto is still there too. All very bad situation that should not have happened in the first place. But here we are.
Well, we have a lot of reactions to this situation. There's a lot of talks. There's a lot of statements being pushed out. You have NSCDC coming out to say they're ready to work with, security agencies. You have assurances coming from the state governor, Senator Ubasani. We also have the chairman of the Northern Governors Forum, Inuwayaya, has said governors from the region are demanding a change in the approach to tackling insecurity in the region. And there was a meeting that was had on Thursday, a closed-door meeting with the National Security Advisor and security chiefs led by the Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa. And governors said to be present in that meeting. You have Sani of Kaduna State, Dauda Lawal of Zamfara, Babagana Zulum, Borno, Rada Diko of Katsina, and Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State, among others. So they had a meeting and it's as related to insecurity, whatever the outcome of the meeting, as if it's related to the Kaduna abductions, we'll get to know. Meanwhile, the Nigerian army said it had rescued 7 people who were said to have been kidnapped in Marage village in Kagara local government of Niger State. And the suspects, including 2 infants and 5 women, were said to have been in the kidnappers' den since January this year. All right. And so the successful rescue, or according to the spokesperson for the troops, said that it was as a result of unwavering pressure exerted on the bandits by the troops, which led to their rescue. And there's also the troops also rescued about 10 other victims in the Safe area of Zamfara State on March 13, 2024. So, let's not just talk about the negatives, but then this is very, very, very important. Just as Said Fuad rightly mentioned, time is ticking, and these children, malnutrition is a real thing. I don't know if they're being fed properly. And
they fall sick. How do they take care of them?
The condition they're in. Yeah, exactly. All right. Very, very unfortunate. 1 billion. Okay. Well, the story is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Would like to see the approach that the government and the security agencies are going to take over this one. All right. We also have here politics over. It's time for governance. Tinubu tells governors at Iftar. And that story is on page 22 of the Punch newspaper. So very quickly, let's see what we have here. Okay. The president on Thursday appealed to all 36 state governors to put politics behind them and focus on governance. Said the country was no longer in the state it met it since assuming office 9 months ago. So apparently, the president hosted governors to a Ramadan iftar, that's breaking a fast, at the banquet hall Aso Rock. And he said, and I'm quoting, "Your Excellencies, it is a very great honor to have you here to share the blessings of the fast and la. This overlapping period, which means the month of Ramadan and the Lent season, which the Christians are also observing, is valuable to our country, and we should utilize it to pray. And since we recognize the need to build the nation together, let us know that politics is over. The time for governance is now. We are of the same family and living in the same house but sleeping in different rooms. We have no choice but to come in, correlate and spread love among each other." And that is my sermon. So politics is over, and it's time for governance, says the president to state governors. What?
On that statement, the president should take the lead. On that particular statement, that line, every other thing, that's the most important. Now that's why the paper has it as the most important part of the story. So the president should take the lead so that the governors can follow him on that. If you understand what I'm saying, because at least so far from what we have seen, a lot of times from the actions of the president himself, it's been more politics than governance. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He was in Lagos recently. Sandra, to launch and commission the Red Rail. I remember that while he was responding to agitations and demands of labor, instead of the president sticking to the real issues that labor was raising, and by extension, the generality of Nigerians who are feeling the pain of some of the policies that have been brought by this government, he also tried to play politics with it by saying, if they want, they should wait to 2027, whereas the real issue is not even about politics for 2027. So, yes, we agree. It's even unfortunate that 9 months, almost 10 months down the line of this administration, are just issuing statements like this. Because again, politics ended. A long time ago. The cost have affirmed the victory of all the politicians as we know it, that participated in the last general election. And so this is the time for governance. But again, for me, I'm used to a politician making statements and all of these kind of things, but never really committing to what they say. So if the president really wants the governors to focus on governance and abandon politics for now, then he should also take the lead. They must see it in the actions of the president that, look, he's not ready for politics now. He just wants, to see governance happen. You understand? How did the president deal with the Ondo issue? Was it about governance? How did the president also intervene in the Rivers issue? Was it about governance, politics? So the president should commit to what he's saying by taking the lead so that the governors can also follow it.
Well, the governors that were seated at the meeting, governors of Kwara, Delta, Benue, Plateau, Kogi, Kebbi, Bauchi, Borno, Ogun, Nasarawa, Ebonyi, Bayelsa, Gombe, Abia, Edo, and Kaduna. I'm sorry I have to say this, but I'm really shocked that Lagos State Governor was not there. I'm really
that's we have a lot of work to do in Lagos, so our government is busy.
It's okay.
And he's not a Muslim. If he was there, it would just be in solidarity with other.
I don't understand. But traditional rulers were invited as well. So I don't know.
Maybe Muslim traditional rulers. It's Pharaoh. So if you had any other governor there that was not a Muslim, you would probably just be.
Is Tʀᴇ a Muslim? Is Tʀᴇ a Muslim?
Is he there?
Yes, now.
He's everywhere.
It's okay, Fuad.
Why is it that he's everywhere?
Please, because he's a very active governor. He's a very, very active.
Active doing what?
He's doing a lot, Fuad. Please.
For who and who? For the people of Ogun State, for himself.
For we, the people of Ogun State.
Okay, you people agree that he's doing a lot of work for you guys.
He's very hardworking.
Okay, it's fine. Because I'm surprised that there's hardly any public function now. State, what have you, in Nigeria or abroad, and you don't find the governor of Ogun State here. It's available everywhere. I think he seems to be enjoying the second term in office. There's really no pressure, don't you think? With a lot of work that needs to be done in Ogun State, he looks so calm, cool, and seems to be enjoying himself. Whether important or not, I'm surprised really, because if you look at the quantity of work, the number of things that need to be done in Ogun State, a governor that is on top of the situation would not really be that available for things like this. I thought that, look, you probably find more of the governors who are Muslims, because it's a star really. The president is also a Muslim, so okay. Again, I don't know. Okay. But I know my governor in Lagos is busy. There's a lot of work to do in Lagos, so probably we don't find
you and I know. We both know. Governor of Lagos State is always everywhere as well. That's why I'm surprised he was.
It's not available for this.
I'm surprised he was. I'm surprised he's busy. Yes, let's work with that. Thank you very much, man. He's very busy. All right. Well, the story is on page 22 of the Punch newspaper. Moving on very, very quickly. We also have here Amotekun heightened security in Osun border boundary communities. That's on page 41. I think a few days ago the governor held a security summit of some sort. Due to intelligence reports that there may be some attack on schools and all of that. So I guess this is a follow-up to that. Well, the story is here. The commandant of Osun State Amotekun Corps, Brigadier General Bashir Adewinbi, on Thursday said the security outfit had intensified surveillance on the border communities in the state, which of course is in response to the alarm raised on Tuesday by Governor Ademola Adeleke that there were plans by criminals to attack schools and farm settlements in the state. So, so we are seeing results from that meeting. I guess things are looking, hopefully things would look smooth for the people of Osun State, since the security operators they seem to be on top of the situation.
So it should not just be Osun State. I think the entire Southwest should be on high alert, and it's not just even the Southwest, the North Central, North. Of course, the Northwest already knows that there's trouble around, and even the Northeast. But for the Southwest, I think the good one that Amotekun is also up in their game. It's also important that community leaders, this is not the time to just listen to what you're saying and think that, look, you are far from the risk of these things happening in our own community. Nobody had expected that in Ekiti, for example, what happened in Ekiti would have happened. You understand? Even in Lagos, we should not sleep and slumber on these things. This is the time for us to really, put on our thinking cap. It's important that the governor also begins to work with security agencies, invest in community intelligence. And there's a reason why I'm saying community intelligence. The funny thing is our politicians have a network of people that they can talk to. They have party leaders, they have ward meetings. So they should not just look at that structure, that political structure for political reasons alone. They can use those network of people to help with community intelligence, surveillance, and all of that. There's also the traditional rulers who also have to be part of all of these efforts. the obas, the ballers, you understand? The unions, the allogas, babalogas, everybody has to be part of it. We have to, and individuals too. To see any strange thing, let's be on high alert. Right. When it comes to security, it has to be everybody's responsibility now, Sandra.
Thank you very much. You're listening to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. And we're looking through the front page of the Punch newspaper. It's 8 minutes past 8. And now we're going above the masthead of the Punch, where it says here, Fuad, Port Harcourt refinery gets 450,000 barrels of crude and is to resume operations in April. Should we bring out drum rolls?
Should I take a bet with you? That will not happen.
Fuad, you've been after my money for like 2 days now. Eh?
I just feel like, wait. Should I tell you that I will not happen? If you read it, so you know it's not even happen.
It's all right. Let's look at it first.
There's nothing affirmative in that story to show that it will happen. The group is April.
It's just April. It's
no
just
problem.
April. Well, the DMD of NNPCL, Mele Kyari, has said the Port Harcourt refinery will commence operations in about 2 weeks' time. And according to him, mechanical works have been completed on the Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna refineries, stressing that the Kaduna refinery will commence operations in December. Okay? And we did a mechanical completion of the refinery. That was what we said in December. Now we have crude oil already stocked in the refinery. We are doing
50,000 barrels. Really?
We are doing regulatory compliance tests that must happen in every refinery before it started. And I assure you that the Port Harcourt refinery will start in the next 2 weeks. Completing the mechanical work means that you are done with the rehabilitation. Now you have to test to see how it works. What?
You know we have been on this testing since December.
No.
When?
The completion, they said the completion it was supposed to have been completed in December. That's
they told us in December. I'm telling you that what they told us in December, and that was why there was this testing that was done. You know, where they put some gas in the thing and then we saw light and then they switched it off. Remember, now in December, they told us now that mechanical work had been completed and that sometime in January, the refinery will start working. Now we are in March, we are getting another timeline of April. And if you look at what they are saying, again, it would have been better to say, look, we completed the refinery. But to keep still saying that it is mechanical work that is completed, is the reason why I'm telling you that it will not happen. If you have completed refinery, tell us which one is mechanical completion? Completion of mechanical work. So what of the electrical work? Or the refinery don't have electrical part of it, or other parts of it. We're talking to experts who have told us that, look, and remember that the same Port Harcourt refinery we are talking about comes in two parts. There's the old and the new one. The old one has 50,000 barrels per day refining capacity, whereas the old one I think has 121,000 barrels per day. Put that together, you have about 2% of that refinery. Both. So, is it the old refinery we are talking about now, or even the new one? Because again, when you're getting complete information, what I see from, I'm sorry, you can prove us wrong, from Mr. Mele Kyari is that when it comes to all of these committees and probes and these things, he just tells them what they want to get to allow him just go. That's what he has done consistently. When they call him, whether it's the House of Reps or a senator, he will just tell them what they want to hear, give all manner of timeline, and it will not happen, and nobody wants anybody responsible. We've gotten several timelines for that same Port Harcourt refinery, Sandra. Now, it is about Port Harcourt December, and Kaduna, we have not. That's the same story.
Port Harcourt April, Kaduna
then which one is December?
Kaduna.
Warri is when? Warri too, he said Warri mechanical has been completed. And this is the thing, Sandra. You know that still on this Port Harcourt refinery, we are still looking for people to manage it. You remember that we put out, recently, to say that they are looking for managers of that Port Harcourt refinery. That one is still there, and they have not been able to sort that out. So if you aggregate all of this together, it is the reason why I'm giving the bet with you, Sandra, that thing will not happen in April. It's every 2 weeks now, Abi. And let us even ask ourselves, it's so much celebrated Dangote refinery. Where are we on that?
But it not concern us of what, because it's a private.
Concern us. We have 20% stake on it, Sandra. It concerns us. It concerns us seriously because we have a 20% stake. on that refinery. And let me tell you why it also concerns us. That was a refinery we built with total support, forex and every kind of support.
Oh yes, true.
So you don't concern us. We used our add end forex, cash forex to fund the building of that refinery. Oh. We gave all of the support in the world. So it concerns us. All manner of concessions, tax waivers, all manner of things.
God bless.
We're giving to Dangote to build that refinery. So it concerns us.
Emefiele. God bless.
We also put $2.5 billion from the NNPC to that refinery. So it concerns us now. So where are we on that refinery?
Well, Fuad has questions. The people have questions. There's just a lot to take away. But then, I see April. You know the interesting thing. I'm a little bit apprehensive because April can come now. They said April. They didn't say April 1. So
you're already learning fast.
So April can say
that was the thing about student loans.
Student loan. January. They said January has not ended. That's how Wicked said he was going to name some names, and he said January. Well, we'll wait to April. We'll wait to the end of April. Let's
I want to
benefit of doubt. Yes.
That's why I'm asking whether it is the old Port Harcourt refinery or the new one, because again you have two refineries in that entire complex. So you need to ask yourself if basically what we supply that refinery is just 450,000 barrels of crude oil. If that refinery to work to full capacity, that supply will not last for more than 3 days. So what are we talking about? Are we joking or faffing around with serious issues of the state? That was the same way we did with Dangote refinery. In 1 million barrels today, another 1 million, then later we did 6 million, and we're now ready to refine.
Yes.
All right.
It's okay, Fad. Let's wait till April, end of April, to see what exactly.
Okay, to the end of April.
The end of April.
Wait, we have always been waiting. So
April. Just leave it open. 15 minutes past 8. It is still trends in the papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. We're moving to the Guardian newspaper now, and the major headline there: Japa or modern slavery. How UK
that Guardian report is important. Very interesting report from the Guardian newspaper.
How UK visa system and deportation risk silence exploited care workers. And that story is on pages 4 and 5 of the Guardian newspaper. A very, very important story, just as Fuad has highlighted. So as migrant carers are henceforth banned from bringing dependent spouses and children to the UK, stories of their breadwinners turned care workers are distressing. They are routinely exploited, raped, and abused. Yet the skilled visa system traps these same workers in harrowing and exploitative situations in the UK. So investigation shows that there are potentially thousands of people trapped in a system which leaves them vulnerable to abuse, threats, powerless to.
I don't even recognize them.
No,
any right?
Yes, because I mean, it's not like it's under the table per se, but and that job, from report I've gotten, that job is really, really, really stressful, and you can't even do anything back. You can't defend yourself. If you defend yourself, it will be seen as.
3 Nigerians were recently sent to prison for harassing.
Did you watch the video? And
it's difficult to watch. It's very painful.
I'm sorry, but I tried to. I was looking at it. I was like, okay, so they abused the patient. And I was looking at it. I was like, okay, I was waiting. What was
the extent of abuse, really?
And I was waiting, and I just could not see it. I couldn't see it.
And the person they were caring for, I'm not sure the person is mentally stable, really. So how did the person have stressed them to have warranted? Yes, we're not justifying what happened.
No, we're not justifying it. Yeah. But there's a reason why if you go to the UK, 90-something% of the care workers are migrants, because there are people are not ready to do the job. They can't do. They don't have the patience to do the job. So that's hence this very disturbing story.
Report,
So latest government figures show almost 106,000 visas granted to care workers in 2023. We have people from India, Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Ghana, Bangladesh, Pakistan, top list of nationalities. And to get a visa, a person must have a job offer from an approved UK employer, also known as a sponsor. And a few of these workers who spoke to Citizens Advice and said they will be willing to blow the whistle on their sponsor, but then there's a lot that is happening, behind closed doors. It's not all rosy, for a lot of all these.
If you know they are specific, they carry people who give different harrowing experiences. Some of them from their landlords, some of them from even their employers. And because they can't fight back, they can't even complain. Some of them, so they just take it, they just bottle it. Sexual harassment, verbal assault. Look, somebody was telling me recently that some of these, even some of them went on this student visa. So because of menial job they have to do, there's a number of hours that they have to work.
20.
Some of them have to overstretch the hours of work because they need to make more money to be able to sort themselves out.
Yes.
And some of them, they have to work all through the night. Some of them will have to go into the toilet just to catch on sleep. They go into the restroom to catch sleep because you can't sleep on duty.
You can't.
And they're overworked.
Oh, they're overworked. There's the factory workers as well, apart from caregivers, care workers. The factory guys, those ones, they work at least, I think, about 14 hours, and they are working standing. They're not seated. They can't sit.
And then you have employers who will ensure you don't even sit. You don't try to,
So what we have on this report now is that,
understanding what you're in for.
What we have now is that there are no protection per se, for these people, people who are doing these jobs, because what we have now is when you scrutinize the intersection between immigration law, employment law, and human rights, because they are all different things: immigration law, employment law, human rights. All right. For example, it's unlawful for an employer to dismiss someone, make them redundant, or force them to resign after whistleblowing. But some people are ready to blow the whistle on a lot of their employers and all of that. But there needs to be protection for whistleblowers, for people to be able to speak out, and then for there to be some sort of attention being paid to immigration rules. Yes, exactly. So there's nowhere to turn. There are some recruitment agencies that are taking as much as the tax level. The more you work, apparently in the UK, the more you work, the more taxes you pay. So if you say, oh, I need to make more money, and then you say, let me add to my hours of work,
you will not see that at the end of the day.
You may not get anything. So some of them just prefer to let me just do the little I can do and all of that. But it's a very
and for a little immigrant, Sandra, they'll take their taxes from you, but you have no benefit from the state.
Can't go to hospital.
You don't understand. If whether you like it or not, work 100 hours, you collect what you need to collect from that your money. But you can't benefit anything from that society, but you are an illegal immigrant.
Well, as it is now, especially with this new immigration rule or law that Rishi Sunak pointed out, where care providers who are going, or care workers who are going to the UK they can't bring dependents anymore. You can't bring your family, you can't bring your spouse. You just come alone. So all of these things are the reasons why this report is very, very important. Are people actually going to greener pastures, or is it daylight robbery of your human rights, or is it modern slavery? No. But
people should go and read this story.
Yes, it's just very unfortunate what a lot of people are going through after selling all your properties, doing everything over here, only for you to get there. And
I imagine a bank manager that sold everything to go and become a caregiver, and I would have been faced this kind of standard.
Be cleaning people's, cleaning after people, taking care.
Let's move on.
It's okay. Well, the stories on pages 4 and 5 of the Guardian newspaper. Also on the front page of the Guardian, we have here federal government seeks new student loan act and jail term for offenders. I still on this student loan story. Well, the story is on page 7. We can get the details from there. I'm broken-hearted as regards student loan, so I really.
Let's just move on with that one. Whenever they bring it out,
when it is launched, we can now start having conversations.
There's a bill in the house. It's a back and forth on it.
It's on second reading.
The old law.
Yes.
Yeah, they want to repeal the old law to come up with a new one. So I think we should not dwell too much on that story.
Exactly.
When we have it to talk about.
All right. So what we have here also on the front page of the Guardian, Akpabio threatened over Ningi's suspension as federal government.
I was waiting for this story.
As federal government dismisses budget padding claims. The story is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. So very quickly, let's put some context to that particular headline. What we have is that the federal government yesterday reiterated its stance on the controversial 3 trillion naira allegedly padded to the 2024 budget, insisting that there was no disparity in this year's budget. All right. So what we have now is the presidency is issued a statement which we are fully in agreement with about the size of the budget and where the mistake comes from. Mr. President presented a budget of 27.5 trillion naira, and the National Assembly, in its wisdom, increased the budget to 28.7, an increase of about 1.2 trillion naira. And of course, we know the whole story behind Senator Abdul Ningi and the interview granted over the weekend, saying that the 2024 budget was padded by 3 trillion naira, adding that there were 2 versions of the budget. So, refuting Ningi's claim, the Minister of Budget and National Planning, Abubakar Bagudu, said, and I quote, "The Constitution necessitates that the President submits budget proposals to the National Assembly. The National Assembly has the last word in terms of appropriation. There can be no appropriation without addition, subtraction, or agreement to the one presented. The National Assembly deemed it fit to increase the budget from 25 trillion presented by the President to 28, which is what the President is working with." I'm confused. How are you confused? No, is Honorable Minister Bagudu agreeing with Ningi that there was a 25, but that the National Assembly increased it in its wisdom to 28, which is what the President is now working with?
The President are sensing 27.5.
No, this is what Minister Bagudu is saying. I'm quoting him verbatim. He said that the National Assembly deemed it fit to increase the budget from 25.5 trillion naira presented by the President to 28.7 trillion naira, which is what the President is working with. That is what Bagudu said.
You see the problem now. Can you now say the problem?
What is going on? Because what agreeing with Ningi?
He's agreeing now.
This is an agreement now.
Because remember, Sandra, that the figures we've always worked with was that the President has sent in 27.5 trillion naira.
Yes.
And then at the end of the day, the National Assembly increased it by 1.2 trillion naira to now make it 28.7 trillion naira. At what point? Because there was never a point where we had anything 25 trillion, I'm sorry. Unless there's something we don't know. It has always been 27. Remember now, Sandra? Yes. It has always been 27.5 trillion.
So what's been Minister? See, I'm quoting. I'm not paraphrasing.
Some facts too.
So exactly. So there may be some facts to what he said.
And you remember that even budget that organization that looked at and they've also said that because again Senator Olamide was saying that the 3 point something trillion that Ningi was talking about for government-owned enterprises like INEC and co. And what big budget has said is that yes, those figures are captured in that budget, but there were no clear appropriations. There are no details as to how those monies will be spent. And that's what budget is saying. And that in itself opens up that entire conversation to what we are talking about, the corruption in the system. Because if there are no clear appropriations and details previously that we identified in that budget, but that is not even the most important part of the story. Senator Tʀᴇ went the ethnic line in his own submission at plenary on Tuesday, where he was saying that it was a coup and that, it is because there's a Southern Senate president now, the Northerners are not cooperating, they want to remove him. The last time that there was a South person that became Senate president, trying to make it, I think it's a fight between the North and the South. And I said, no, this is just a fight between politicians looking for their own personal interest. Now, there's a group, if you read that story very well, the Coalition of Northern Groups.
Yes, thank you very much. The national coordinator, Jamilu Aliyu Charanchi, said a lot.
Just about 3 paragraphs. What did they say?
It's not 3. It's not 3. He said a lot. A lot.
Okay. Let's have about 4 or 5 paragraphs on what he said.
Let's start with Senator Tʀᴇ Bamidele. What he said, and I'm quoting now, is that the desperate attempts to rewrite history and, as usual, put the blame on the North for all the country's woes is unacceptable, as well as repugnant to the sensibilities of Northerners. In his misguided
That is PNG talking now.
Senator Bamidele ignorantly Shagari, a northerner who made Joseph Wires president of the Senate of the Second Republic against a fellow northern aspirant in NPN, National Party, several southern individuals from the Senate presidency.
So the Senate president was saying were removed. Well, they were removed by Zabazo, who is also a southerner. How did it concern the northerners?
He must also remember that southern politicians like President Obasanjo that northern politicians have played in shaping the country's leader. He said a lot. His absence of reasonable explanations by the Senate leadership as to where these monies, these very wonderful monies that were inserted into the budget but not allocated to anything or appropriated to anything, that is, in the budget, emphasizes the validity of Senator Ningi's assertion regarding the lack of detailed allocation for the stated amount in the 2024 budget. That's it.
Like my other brother would say. So it's not about ethnicity or not or south. And that was why I said that Senator Bamidele should not insult our sensibility. I think we are fools to now go that ethnic line, to just distract us. Speak to the issue, address the issue. If they remove Akpabio, so be it now. How does Akpabio becoming Senate president affect the South now? How does he even put food on the table or Southerners? And that's what the politicians do. They are smart about it. Critical issues are raised. Hey, the South, they want to remove this because it's a northern now. There's nothing in northern or southern, to what happened on Tuesday. And also now they are still not being able to explain in detail those appropriations. Here lies the confusion and the corruption we have always been talking about.
All right. Well, that's a wrap for trends in the papers. Apologies, we won't be able to take a lot more stories, but I'll just read out headlines from Vanguard. Stories that we've not been able to take. Teachers' welfare packages. Government requires 345 billion naira to pay monthly salaries. That's on page 9 of Vanguard. We also have here, Port Harcourt refinery will deliver petrol in 2 weeks. Sorry. I think let's just move on. All right, that's all this story. Stay with us. We'll take a short break. We'll be back by 8:40 for Midland Focus, where you, our dear listener, you get to be a part of the conversation. All right, this is Midland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos, where the conversation never stops.
Midland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos.
Attention, Airtel customers. If your line has been blocked, then this is for you. Head to the nearest Airtel shop with your NIN. Our friendly staff will help you get your line back up and running. Don't let a blocked line keep you out of touch.
Airtel, a reason